Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to the 9 p.m. live exclusive edition. Here are the headlines. Message to the nation from President Anglais on the occasion of the 43rd anniversary of independence. Market control react product availability and respect of homologous prices. For international news, COVID-19 peaks in Europe, risk to health systems, warns WHO. Hello, welcome again and welcome to our newsroom for having the news in details. On the 43rd anniversary of the Independence Day of our country, the President of the Republic and Head of Government, His Excellency Mr. Anglais, sends his best wish of happiness, health and prosperity to his fellow countrymen, the President of the Republic.
Alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulih al-amin, Sayyidina wa Habibina Muhammadin sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Chers compatriotes, nous fêtons cette année l'accès de notre pays à notre souveraineté nationale.
My fellow citizens, this year we are celebrating our country's access to our national sovereignty in a special context, that of the COVID-19 pandemic, which, for health security reasons, forced us to cancel all large-scale civil and military demonstrations. Nevertheless, my fellow citizens, we are celebrating this day with the emotion and solemnity that befits this day which saw the birth of our republic, the foundation of our sovereignty as a nation united in its plural expression and its centuries-old ancestral Muslim values. As we do every year, our first thoughts go to our dead, our martyrs, our heroes, our anonymous people, all those Djiboutians whose supreme sacrifice has contributed to our sovereignty. Our thoughts are also with those who, as I speak to you today, are watching over its integrity every day, on all our territories, in the air and on the seas. These are, of course, our defense and security forces. Their ultimate sacrifices to build our republic, to safeguard our unity, our equality, our peace, can never be called into question by anyone or subjected to revisionism. Finally, my thoughts are with all our fellow citizens who have left us this year, and in particular with our elders who have paid a heavy price in the face of the COVID-19 pandemic. My fellow countrymen, like everywhere else in the world, this pandemic has tested our country's resilience. Major sectors of our economy such as tourism, hotels, and transportation were severely impacted and continue to be so. Many Djibouti men and women working in the informal sector have lost their livelihoods. Faced with this situation of unprecedented seriousness, this government has done its duty. Above all, it gave priority to the health of our citizens by decreeing a period of confinement that enabled us to slow the spread of the epidemic. It also organized national solidarity to assist those of our citizens who found themselves destitute in the face of the new socio-economic context created by the pandemic. It goes without saying, my fellow citizens, that this unprecedented situation has revealed our social fragility and our degree of exposure to major economic shocks and global health crisis. All over the world, the COVID-19 pandemic revealed the flaws and shortcomings of our globalized economy, where states have lost room for maneuver in sectors that are strategic to their independence. Whether at the continental or national level, we have learned a number of lessons from it, which should today enable us to update our public policies. Choosing a more resilient economy, locating value chains to control production on the continent, and accelerating inclusion through social protection are subjects that now require rapid and courageous action. The informal economy is an African economic reality. What makes it strong, its vitality and flexibility, is also weak due to the absence of rules and security devices. The government will have to find innovative mechanisms so that the actors of the sector come out of social precariousness and that all those who operate there find the necessary protection. But I am also thinking of a whole section of our economy that we need to diversify and restructure. This is what we are already doing for our energy sector. The green energy project that we are starting up on the side of Lake Assal and Grand Bara, with wind and solar energy in particular, is part of this political will to make accessible and competitive energy available to our fellow citizens and our economy. I understand your impatience, but you should never doubt the will and energy that drives us to implement the most sustainable solutions. My fellow countrymen, the tours I have been able to make in the regions have allowed me to see the dynamism of the local communities. They also allowed me to measure your expectations in terms of local autonomy. In this respect, I have given clear instructions to the government to implement all the grievances expressed in the 5 interior regions. This is already the case for some of them. My fellow citizens, on this day of June 27th and the accession to our sovereignty, we also celebrate the founding act of our state, our nation and our republic. Since that day and forever, it is on this Territorian route that we are relentlessly building our future and our development. I want the less young among us to remember, I want the younger among us to learn. Our state, whose virtual paganism has been engaged by some commentators from its birth, has gradually given itself the means for its growth. It has drawn its energy from the bowels of its citizens to transform itself, to modernize, and to become a strong state, protective of its territory and its citizens. This territory, this country, this Djiboutian nation, so dearly acquired, must never be given up or called into question. Because if it's necessary for generations to question the reforms and public policies that would improve our daily lives, and this is a democratic right, the Republic remains a certainty. It is not to be taken lightly or questioned. The Republic is the home of us all. It is real, and it is all these institutions from which it emanates that protects us from abuses and allow us to progress and live together in harmony. My fellow citizens, I also want the less young among us to remind the younger ones, with dignity and the necessary pedagogy, that on this day of 27 June we have chosen to be a state, but also a nation. We have made this choice together without any spirit of constraint, discrimination, or prejudice. In the wake of national independence, Djiboutians have agreed to transcend their particularism or community membership. We have become Djiboutians. Above all, we have opted properly to live together as communities within a nation that has given rise to and valued a single identity, the Djiboutian identity. Those who want to go against our common history, those who want to go in the opposite direction of our collective trajectory, are not only mistaken about the times, but they are also fighting the wrong battle. In the midst of a volatile regional context, these individuals are taking on the horrific task of undermining the common life of our communities. Their fight is lost in advance because Djiboutians are not ready to listen to the caste riddles and sirens. Djibouti are not ready to dilute the identity of their nation in the merge of some flag. This date reminds us, oh, how much our visceral attachment to the Republic. A republic that has found its way through the jolts of history, but also a republic that has been able to adapt to the constraints and hazards of its history, to have been able to combine political stability, which is essential to our country, with the social and democratic changes, which are essential to our development and our future, is the strength of our republic, and that is its tranquility. Precisely for our future, we need to maintain this alchemy of a republic which, to remain stable, needs vitality. It needs to move, to transform and renew itself, to reinvent itself always in the quest of our ideal. But this project, my dear citizens, to become a reality needs your efforts, your energies, and your participation. After all, do not forget that our republic is only the melting pot of your values, your aspirations, and your commitments. It is the sum of what we are and the reflection of what we make of it. Of course, we do not agree on everything, and of course, the transformations we want to do not all go at the same pace or in the same direction. Nevertheless, whatever our values, our convictions, our personal opinions, one thing must nevertheless remain unshakable in each of us: the Republic, one and indivisible, the Republic, the common good of us all, Djiboutians. We are and will be above all. Long live the Republic. Long live Djibouti.
The President of the Republic, His Excellency Mr. Ismail Melgiri, received a warm congratulations from his Turkish counterpart, Mr. Recep Tayyip Erdogan, as we approach to the celebration for national independence. I sincerely congratulate Your Excellency and the brotherly people of Djibouti on behalf of my nation and on my own behalf for the National Day of the Republic of Djibouti, wrote the Turkish President in a message conveyed to the head of state. I am firmly convinced that a bilateral and multilateral cooperation based on deep-rooted historical ties with Djibouti, one of our major partners in East Africa, will be pursued in all areas on the basis of our common interests, President Erdogan noted in the same telegram. I would like to reiterate my best wish for the health and happiness of Your Excellency and the prosperity and well-being of the brotherly and friendly people of Djibouti, the Turkish President also said. Similar messages from the head of state and government of brotherly and friendly countries wishing the President of the Republic health and happiness and the people of Djibouti greater development and fulfillment as we approach the commemoration of our National Independence Day. Continue to pour into the Presidency of the Republic this day. The King of the Kingdom of Morocco, His Majesty Mohammed VI, is among the leaders of brotherly and friendly countries who recently sent a message of congratulations to the head of state, His Excellency Mr. Ismail Omar Guelleh. And now the reception of the Ethiopian donation took place in the tarmac of Anglais International Airport in the presence of the Secretary General of Health, Dr. Salah Benito Traib, in the Ethiopian Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Rabban Hussein. The donation from the Federal Republic of Ethiopia consists of large consignment of medicines, gloves, surgical masks, and hydroalcoholic gels. The Ethiopian ambassador in Djibouti, Mr. Abdulaziz Mohammed Ibrahim, the senior advisor, Mr. Abdul Qadir Mohammed Garat, and many other officials of the health department participated in the reception of this donation. On behalf of the government of Djibouti, the Secretary General of Health, Dr. Salah Benito Traib, thanked the Ethiopian nation for this fraternal gesture, which is a testimony to the close bilateral relationship between Djibouti and the sister republic of Ethiopia. For his part, the Ethiopian Vice Minister expressed his satisfaction with the warm welcome extended to him during his working visit to Djibouti. Let's listen to him.
Token of solidarity from Ethiopian people to the people of Djibouti. The corona pandemic is a challenge for humanity. We, Ethiopia and Djibouti, we share common history, common people and a culture, and in common border. People are traveling both from Ethiopia to Djibouti and from Djibouti to Ethiopia. So whatever happens to Ethiopia, we believe will happen to Djibouti, and whatever happens to Djibouti, that will also happen to Ethiopia. So both in challenges and also in happiness and in all difficulties, we have to share and then stand together. So this medical supplies and equipment is just a token. It's worth $300,000. It's medical equipment and supplies. So just as a token of solidarity, and then we are happy to hand over to Djibouti Health Ministry. We'll continue cooperating each other. We'll continue supporting each other. So we stand together in both difficult times and also in times of good times. So this is one of the signs that Djibouti and Ethiopia have to stand together. On this time, on another note, we also thank that Djibouti stood with us together with regards to also the garden. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Djiboutian government and Djiboutian people for understanding us and then standing with us. Thank you very much.
The General Secretary of Health Ministers, Dr. Salah Benito Traib, gave us his daily press briefing of this Friday, June 26, 2020. The data of COVID-19 epidemic is as follows. 188 tests were performed, 8 positive cases of COVID-19, 79 cases cured, and 0 death. And as for the global balance sheet, it is declined as follows. 45,998 tests were performed, 4,643 COVID-19 positive. 4,348 cases were confirmed cured, 52 deaths in total. Unfortunately, stay alert, protect yourself, and protect the others. Following the instruction of the Minister of Commerce, His Excellency Hassan Ahmed Ibrahim, the General Secretary of the Commerce Ministry, accompanied by his close collaborator as well as elements of the gendarmerie, paid an unexpected visit to the big market in Riyadh to see at first hand the selling prices of vegetables, especially tomatoes and onion. The main objective of this visit was to ensure, on the one hand, the sufficient availability of these two products, and on the other hand, the respect of the prices approved by the Ministry of Trade. It should be noted that the market has been experiencing supply disruptions for the past week, and more specifically to products that are essential to our daily diet, namely onion and tomatoes. This market disruption is due to a circular issued by the Ethiopian authorities prohibiting all export of these two products to international markets, including Djibouti. After several consultations and working meetings, solutions were adopted closely with the department concerned, namely the Ministry of Agriculture and the Ministry of Budget and the Chamber of Commerce, thus enabling the Union of Fruit and Vegetable Importers to diversify their sources of supply. To this end, and from Thursday, 25 June 2020, the selling price is set as follows. Onion, 200 francs per kilo. Tomatoes, 250, 300 francs per kilo. The Ministry of Commerce control officials with will ensure that these approved prices are respected and speculators will be fined and immediately brought before the court for sanction in accordance with the regulation in force. Lastly, ministry officials take this opportunity to appeal all the importers as sellers to comply with the prices approved by the Ministry of Trade, while reiterating that inflationary practices will be not tolerated because they undermine the purchasing power of Djibouti's households. Now, the State Secretary for Youth and Sport organized this morning a ceremony to award prizes to the various winners of the competition for the interpretation of the national anthem and songs of independence at Guled Stadium. It is in a festive atmosphere that the ceremonies was held in the presence of several personalities of the SEGS, namely the General Secretary, Mrs. Khadija Ibrahim Idris, the Director of the CDCs, Mrs. Ruqayya Hassan, the Director of Guled Stadium, Mrs. Faduma Dabiri, as well as several other members of the SEGS, juries, and parents of the lucky winners of the competitions. Several young people in different categories, under 15 and under 25, were rewarded based on their performance projected on the big screen. I offer my sincere congratulations to these exceptional talents who delighted us with their magnificent act, and thank the organizer and especially the juries who spared no effort. She hammered the Secretary General before inciting encouraging the continuity of this type of activities conducive to the awakening of national feeling among young people. She also recalled that this type of initiative was in line with the policy of the State Secretary for Youth and Sport, His Excellency Hassan Mohammed Kamil, who has made the development of youth a battle horse. As part for the preparation for the 43rd anniversary of national independence, activities are continuing in Djibouti City. Yesterday it was the turn of Jebel District. A cleanup and beautification operation took place. Yesterday it was the turn of Jebel, where the beautification operation took place, which brought together the members of the Jebel District Council, women and youth of this district. During the operation, the caravanners collected garbage and painted the sidewalks of the airport road. It will be noted that the various speakers did not fail to thank the Djibouti Town Hall, which initiated this citizen and patriotic action. As part of the preparation again for the celebration of the 40th anniversary of national independence, clearing and beautification work took place in the chief town of Obok. Thus, the activities were carried out by the association movement, the Women GEA of ADDS, the District Council, and the SEGS personnel, without forgetting the police. This work was carried out under the supervision and support of the prefecture and the regional council, which work in close collaboration. In their respective interventions, Mr. Ali Mohammed Maki, acting prefect, and Mr. Mohammed Ahmed Ismail, president of the regional council of Obok, who was anxious to recall that despite the restriction of the festivities because of COVID-19, the cleanup and embellishment operations were carried out. They made a point of thanking all the participants in this day. Mr. Ali Mohammed Maki and Mr. Mohammed Ahmed wished the President of the Republic, head of government, His Excellency Mr. Ismail Umar Gele, the first First Lady Mrs. Khadra Mahmoud Haid, the Prime Minister Mr. Abdul Qadir Mohammed Kamil, the President of the National Assembly, the members of the government, the entire population of Djibouti in general, the Obokwaz in particular, all the best wish for a happy holiday. After Djibouti City, the training of women fish wholesalers and fish sellers continuing in the Arta region. On 21st, 22nd June 2020 at the Regional Council, where 15 women were trained on the concept of conservation and processing fishery projects. As fishing is a promising sector for the fight against poverty and food insecurity, women fish merchants and fish sellers are also part of the supply and marketing chain of fishery products. This training will enable the beneficiaries to improve the quality of their fishery products, which will enable them to have many more customers and will have a proven impact on their living condition. Now moving to the international news, the hottest day of 2020 so far in the United Kingdom put pressure on the authorities in some of England's coastal towns. Beaches were crowded, distancing measures were barely respected. The authorities in Bournemouth failed to enforce sanitary measures. There were too many people. Some talk about a major incident. This week, Boris Johnson announced a relaxation of sanitary measures in England on 4th July, but it has aroused a lot of fears and criticism because the United Kingdom still has a high number of COVID-19 cases and remains the European country with the most deaths. In comparison, Portugal is often seen as an example of pandemic management, but the government is strongly criticized by its political opponents. Earlier this week, it implemented health restrictions in 19 districts north of Lisbon in an attempt to control new outbreaks. It is clear that the situation in Lisbon and the Tagus Valley is markedly different from any other, and that is why, while the state of alert is being reduced throughout the country, in the Lisbon metropolitan area it should not be followed, said Antonio Costa, Portuguese Prime Minister, at the press briefing. Portugal, COVID-19, a real blow for short-term rental. The World Health Organization warned Europe should not rest on its laurels, as a new spike in contamination could once again push health systems to their limits. For Dr. Hans Klug, WHO Regional Director for Europe, 30 countries have seen an increase in the number of new cumulative cases in the last 2 weeks. In 11 of these countries, the acceleration of transmission has led to a very significant resurgence, which if unchecked, will push health system to the brink once again in Europe. This is it for this edition of 9 p.m. Thank you for staying with us and watching us. Thank you and have a wonderful night.